welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host, on our weekly journey into the fields and forests, following great dogs, sharing that time with a good friend or two, and of course enjoying the scenery. That's what we're all about around here, and so is Scott Trulock and Chris Ingram. Scott Trulock, of course, you know from several other interviews here. Chris Ingram, you may not know, but those are our industry insiders this week. Scott will be talking about the state of the shotgun world and what is going on in his company. And then Chris Ingram has just launched a new magazine with the United Kennel Club, so find out what they're doing over there and why the heck they're doing that in this day and age. So stick around for all of that, and of course a whole bunch more. I'll be asking you on social media what you do in the off season. Find out what your friends and neighbors are doing when they're not out hunting. And our Fix It segment this week focuses on your hunting vest. Get your act together, as they say. And finally, in the furfeathersfriends.com word of the week, I'll be handing out a Chad Hodge signature choke set from TrulockChokes. It's all coming up on the Upland Nation podcast, made possible by Pointer Shotguns, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, Trulock Choke Tubes, MidwayUSA.com, and Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food. Well, we're thawing out. It's down south, enjoying the sunshine in Southern California as I speak, and still getting a lot of work done. You know, most of the things I can do, including this, I can do from just about anywhere, and that's fun. While I'm down here, I'm doing a lot of magazine work, writing a lot of articles, and stretching a little bit. Some of the editors I work with know that I have a sorted and varied background, and so working on a story on finding the perfect campsite, for example, and another one on telling campfire stories. Lots of fun. Thank you, John Taranto at Game and Fish Magazine, for those projects. It's really stretching a little bit for the old Scoutmaster in me. You, of course, are doing a lot of different things since you can't pursue birds at this moment. I thought it'd be fun to share that. Maybe you'll get an idea or two about something else you want to do. So to the question, what are you doing in the off season? The answer from John Baldwin: dry fly or die. Yeah, love it. Although I'm more of a kind of a beadhead prince nymph guy myself. James Ritchie is fly fishing, big game hunting in Africa. Ooh, enjoy. Fly tying and fly fishing for Mark Davis. George Gomez, why did you show me that picture of that big rainbow trout? Where are you? No, don't tell me. I'll just go there. Travis Hampton, yeehaw. I think that's at Bishop, California's, no, it's Hell's Canyon's Mule Days. Yeah, love it. Of course, mules are near and dear to our hearts around here. My second cameraman, Lynn Berland, is a muleteer from way back, does all the stuff you do, riding, logging, farming, and does it well. Cork Green, fishing and physical therapy. Okay. Well, I hope both those work for you. Robert Murphy, training the pup, of course, fishing, camping. George Cummins, conditioning for hunting season. Buzz DeFelice, I don't think I'll tell you where we were when I showed you that picture up there. Craig Lutz, boy, everybody's a comedian. Craig Lutz, what's the off season? And then finally, Bobby Moore. His off-season is spent waiting for hunting season. Isn't that the truth? Well, thank you all for that, and hopefully a little incentive for doing something other than, oh, go ahead. Yeah, watch Wing Shooting USA as much as you like. I'll be happy for that as well. That portion of the program brought to you by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. They're hunters over there, so when they take you out on the range and show you how to shoot better, they can relate to what you're up against in the field. They are also full of information on their 20, 28, and 410 shotguns. Always in stock. Call them Subgauge Central. Call Dave Fiedler at midvalleyclays.com and talk to him about your next shotgun. The phone number is right there at midvalleyclays.com. And Flick is doing great. I've talked about it before. I'm cutting back a little on the amount of Pro Plan Sport dog food I'm giving him this time of year. He's not getting near the miles that he does during the season. That's how I am keeping him slim and trim. And it's working. You know, everybody who looks at that dog says that's a good-looking wire hair, and I can't argue that at all. His conformation is great to begin with. Thank you, breeder Jeff Funky. But also, it's all about nutrition. Pro Plan Sport is nutrient dense with that 30% protein, 20% fat formula. Just perfect for a hard-working bird dog. ProPlansport.com. Well, our first industry insider this podcast is a familiar name to you and a great guest because of his vast knowledge. Scott Trulock is with TrulockChokes, of course. They make choke tubes, among other things, but these guys know metal like that kid in junior high who excelled in metal shop class, you know, but times 10. Scott Trulock, welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast.
Hey, Scott. Thank you for having me on again.
You know, I say that as if everybody can relate. You know, at least at our school, we took shop classes of all sorts. Did you get your start way back then, or was it in your genetics?
No, I didn't get my start in shop class. I got my start because Daddy said, "You're coming to work," and that's what I did.
And so tell me about all of that. We've never really talked about the origins of TrulockChokes.
So way back when, late 70s, I guess, my daddy George was working full-time as a police officer over in Cairo, Georgia, which is a town just up the road from us. And he was doing part-time gunsmithing. And he ended up buying a little machine, little lathe, and started tinkering around making parts for his gunsmith and gun parts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then he ended up buying a couple more and just got more and more into it. But anyways, the choke side of that came about. He was working with a fellow named Ralph Walker out of Alabama. And Ralph's dream was to open a nationwide sort of franchised gunsmithing schools. That's what he wanted to do. Anyways, he needed chokes to retrofit into barrels that did not have chokes, which a lot of them did not back then. Yeah, there were some, but I would even venture to say most of them did not. And so anyway, so Daddy made him some chokes and got to thinking, you know, I could do this and do it better for retrofit purposes. Not at the time he was just focused on retrofitting. So he invented a true choke system and put together kits that had all the tools in it you needed to retrofit the true choke system into non-choked shotgun barrels. And it snowballed from there.
You know, back then, you're right. You know, and I still have a few of those. I don't use them anymore, but there was nothing really to help people who wanted to go beyond what I bet. And you can check me on this. I bet most of the time they're pretty darn full. Those what would we call them? Permanent. You know, the non-removable chokes were pretty full, weren't they?
I mean, you could order them with different constrictions, but I think most, to my knowledge, Scott, most of them were either full choke or like modified.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of them came with.
Well, the TruLock system kind of revolutionized all of that. And since then, Katie barred the door. How did you grow beyond that to where you are today?
Just demand. As more and more manufacturers started making guns with removable chokes, people wanted replacements or options versus other than what came with the gun.
Yeah.
So it was, the opportunity was there, and he took advantage of it to get his foot in the door. He probably. I'm sure there were times he wished he hadn't stuck his foot in that door, but he did. And here we are today.
Yeah, and I would presume as a kid you were there sweeping the shop or going to get everybody's lunch and everything else, weren't you?
When I had to be, it was never where I wanted to be. But I did work up here on and off a good bit growing up. And really, once I got out of high school and joined the military, and I really had no intentions of ever coming back to work up here. But life happens, and here I am.
Yeah, and well, you've got some help, and they're highly qualified and pretty dedicated, and thank goodness for that, because you were confessing off mic that you guys are really busy these days. What's keeping you guys out of trouble? It's a little bit of everything, Scott. It's just we got this summer of 24 was a little slow, but once hunting season really kicked off, we have just been going, and generally you see a drop off after the first of the year. But we absolutely did not. If anything, it got busier for us. And it's, turkey season is going to be, well, it's probably already started, maybe not quite, but it's turkey season is here. And, that when turkey season's approaching, we generally get, we start ramping up. Things get busier, but it's been a little bit of everything, not just turkey chokes since the first of the year. Great.
Not sure what's driving it, but I'm happy to see it.
Oh yeah, especially these days. We were talking a while back about the SHOT Show and the weird vibe that we both sensed about that one. You'd have thunk with a new president that ideally is in line with most of our values, people would be jumping up and down, but it was very, very subdued in ways, wasn't it?
A little bit. I think folks wanted to be optimistic, but we're being cautious about getting too excited.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts on it. But we just came back from the National Wild Turkey Federation convention up in Nashville, and the consumers that go to that show are they are very optimistic, and they let you know it. I love that show. That's a great group of people you get to meet up there.
Isn't it though? And then of course there's all the other attractions of Nashville. If you're so inclined, that is a great town for that. And that particular event is just, I just love it. Don't get to go near as often as I used to, but one of the things that's interesting about that turkey world is the obsession with choke tubes. And more than anybody else, maybe the goose hunters are that way. I don't know. I just don't talk to enough of them, I guess. But what is it about turkey hunting and this idea that there's always a better choke tube out there?
That's just it. Everybody's looking for the edge. What and turkey hunters are. I mean, they are not just choke tube, but everything that goes along with turkey hunting. They're obsessed with it. And I'm as guilty as anybody.
Yep.
Always looking for the latest and greatest, and any little edge I can get, I want to check it out. But I think I know choke tubes and turkey hunting. I mean, I think nowadays more so than 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
folks really pay attention to how their gun is shooting, turkey hunters most especially, because they want the best pattern they can get. It's not like you can go out and shoot a dozen turkeys a day. Most states are either 2 or 3, some even 1. So when that opportunity comes, you want to be ready. You want the best setup you can possibly get. And I think that drives a lot of it. It's just, the bag limits are not big. And they're measured per season, not per day. So, you better have a good setup because you don't want to blow it because you didn't pattern your gun.
Well, I get it. And, that's one reason I like to chase covey birds. Let's talk a little bit about the business, and particularly these days, you guys use United States steel for your choke tubes, and I don't know if that's the brand name as well, because there is a company by that name. But
there's U.S. steel, but no, we just use U.S. manufactured steel. Well, the biggest reason is to support the U.S. economy. We want to put our dollars back into this country, not somewhere else. And there are many reputable, especially European steel manufacturers. They make quality stuff. But then there's probably some coming from the other way that, you don't know what you get. They may say you're getting one thing, but may not be the case. So for that reason, it's just quality is a big reason.
Sure.
And supporting the U.S. economy.
Yeah. When I was learning more about knife making, I know that there are a variety of steels. Rockwell hardness is a term that came to mind. I think there's probably a whole bunch of others. But do you guys vary the type of steel depending on what you're making, or is it that critical?
Well, everything, we've got one line of chokes that is made from a different type of stainless apart from everything else. The bulk of our stuff is made from 17.4 precipitation hardening stainless steel, aged at 925, which gives it a Rockwell hardness of around 42, 43 RC.
Okay, so I'm going to translate that to pretty good stuff. That's a little bit easier for me to remember.
It's got good strength, good stainless properties, good corrosion resistant properties. It's just good steel, and it machines fairly well most of the time. Every now and then you'll get a bar with what we call a seam, which is basically a microscopic crack that runs through it. And when you hit one of those, you know it. There ain't no doubt about what's going on, but that's very rare, few and far between that happens. The 17.4 is a good quality steel for chokes. Our super waterfowl line is made from a different type of stainless, and it's very expensive, and very hard to machine. And hence the high price tag on those choke tubes.
We talk a lot about it, and I'm working on a couple stories now that allow me to lobby for taking good care of your choke tubes and your shotgun muzzle off season. Some people are having trouble, of course, with the idea of having to pull their choke tubes out. Maybe they've been in there a little bit too long or something like that. But do you have a recommended maintenance suggestion for us? I mean, if we're hunting 50 days a year or 20 days a year, should we be taking those tubes out and doing anything to them, every 2 or 3 weeks?
I would. I mean, ideally, you do it every time you get in from the field.
Okay. All right.
Pull it out and wipe it down if you pull the trigger or not, because moisture can still get in there. I'm sure you've taken a rifle out of the house on a warm house on a cold morning, and it immediately fogs over with you, and the steel gets condensation all over it. Well, the same thing happens inside a barrel with the choke. So moisture can still get in there, whether it's raining or not. It's just good practice to pull it out whenever you get done for the day, and wipe it down, light coat of oil, stick it back in. That way, you catch a potential problem before it becomes a big problem. If you've been out shooting and your choke starts to swell on you, if you don't catch it, it's going to continue to swell and eventually lock up in your barrel. Then you've got a major issue.
Yeah. I've always, I'm just a music major, so I can ask all the dumb questions. When I pull mine out, I clean them. I clean the threads and everything carefully inside the shotgun muzzle as well. And then I put a little bit of grease. Now, should I be putting that grease on the threads and the rest of the choke tube, the exterior of the choke tube as well? Would that help in that regard?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't hurt.
And all of those tolerances are so fine, but there's still room in there for a little bit of lubrication, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've shot, been out in the field and just wore it out that day, and you come home and you clean your gun and you pull the choke tube out and there's filthy on the outside. So obviously stuff can get in there, and if you don't get all that clean, so there's room in there for grease. So that's nothing to worry about. Light coat, clean it, light coat of oil or high quality gun oil or grease, and clean your barrel, counterbore and threads, and stick it back in and ready for the next day.
Take a moment here, because I know, speaking of turkey hunters, but now I shot a lot of TSS, tungsten super shot, I think is what it stands for. When I was in California this past season. Well, tell us again, guys who know more than me about metal, what is tungsten super shot?
It's a mix of, it's tungsten, and I think it's got some iron in it. Maybe it's not much, but it's the TSS is 18 grains per cc. It's very heavy, very dense, very hard.
Yeah.
And it patterns like nothing else. It's the gold standard right now, as far as shot types for shotguns go.
Well, you're not far from the truth when you use gold, because I think the rounds I shot were about $4 a piece, and I think well, that's cheap. Yeah, it's so I'm told. But we have no choice in some places, and that's one of the choices. Does it pattern so well because it's so hard?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's round.
Yeah.
Where a lot of other shot is not, and it's hard. It doesn't deform. It flies very true. It carries for the pellet size. Most of this TSS is really small pellets. Sevens are smaller.
Yeah.
And it just carries downrange energy like nothing else. Better than lead, much better than steel. It's really good stuff. I hope that. I was talking with an ammo manufacturer yesterday, and we have been hearing rumblings about it. But they made, all that stuff comes from China.
Oh.
And they may be cutting off the supply here very shortly. So I don't know what that's going to do. I know what it's going to do to the price of TSS ammo, but if they cut it off and don't open it back up, eventually we're going to run out.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Hey, everybody, you heard it here first. Stock up while you can and heed the words of Scott Trulock. TrulockChokes.com is where you learn more about what they're doing over there. I don't care how busy you guys are, Scott. You always pick up the phone when we need help. So keep up the good work. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you could make it back to the Upland Nation podcast.
I appreciate it, Scott.
Take care now.
You too.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Good to hear. Good to know. And perhaps, as I said, forewarned is forearmed if you're looking for something with tungsten in it. Stick around. We've got Chris Ingram talking about launching a new magazine for us coming up in the second half of the podcast. In the meanwhile, our Fix It segment is on the way, and we'll talk a little bit about maybe making some fine-tuning adjustments to your hunting vest. Our word of the week with a prize, hey, from Scott Trulock. Thanks, Scott. It's all coming up on the Upland Nation podcast after this word from TrulockChokes. I don't know if I need to say much more about it. You just found out they use the best steel, and they use the best gear to turn that steel into choke tubes. The highest quality, all American made, lifetime warranty, satisfaction guarantee. See who else is doing that. And I don't care what industry it is. Find a lifetime warranty that is no questions asked. Learn more at TrulockChokes.com. IanPointerShotguns.com is where you start your search for a new shotgun. It's probably in stock at your nearby Pointer dealer. They're getting new inventory all the time. Learn more at PointerShotguns.com about the choices available to you, including that new FT12 semi-auto, getting great reviews, a workhorse of a shotgun for $499 suggested retail. Yeah, take a look at all the choices at PointerShotguns.com. Well, it's always good to have him back in one way, shape, or form, and sure appreciate the work. By the way, Chris Ingram, welcome to the Upland Nation podcast.
Hey, Scott, thanks so much.
And if you haven't noticed yet, Chris is now editor at American Field Sportsman's Journal, affiliated with United Kennel Club. And I'm sending a piece every once in a while over there. Chris, what a project to start a new magazine in this day and age. I mean, geez, when they said, Chris, come on board. Oh, and by the way, here's your job description.
Yeah.
Did you run away as fast as possible?
Well, I ran to it as fast as I could, and now sometimes it feels like I'm running in circles. But you know what? I'm still moving, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Let's just go a little bit of backstory on you first, and then we'll jump in as one editor to another editor back in the day. I don't miss it at all. I said that already. But
sure.
You didn't start there. You've been involved in this world for quite a while, and you're an avid hunter too. So give us a little bit of your story.
Sure thing. So I'm currently living in Vermont here, where we've got some great access to grouse and woodcock hunting, but originally I hail from Wisconsin. Sadly, though, I sort of got introduced to hunting through deer with my father. Did one season there, and they found the chronic wasting disease. So my hunting career was sort of paused and put on hold, and fast forward several decades later when I finally landed in Vermont, now about 15 years ago, sort of became that reactivated adult set hunter. And so first got started chasing ducks and geese and retrieving breeds, and spent a bunch of time doing that, and sort of accidentally stumbled upon woodcock when I was doing some of that hunting, and started chasing the upland birds and chasing pointers and flushers. And then here we do a little bit of everything. So I also met some friends and started chasing beagles and rabbits. We've got some bear hunters, some coon hunters, even managed to make friends with some squirrel dog hunters up here. So, and like you said, I've had a little bit of everything personally and then professionally along the way in that time too. Started with a camera, kind of was just a hobby a chance to stay outdoors a little more and wanted to kind of monetize this new interest of mine. So started a little business and was doing website work and some different editing, and then picked up the pen and started to do some writing and sort of combine those skills, and worked in a few different capacities, doing some freelance work, worked for the Fish and Wildlife Department. And then when we connected, I was one of the editors at Gundog and Wildfall. Did that for a number of years and took a break. And then just about 10 months ago, landed back into editorial. Wasn't planning on it, but when I started to talk with the United Kennel Club about this position and relaunching the American Field, it was something I couldn't say no to, and really got excited. And so it's been a whirlwind since. But yeah.
I bet, and I can also imagine that there are a lot of folks in our world that are really excited to see the American Field in any way, shape, or form coming back, so that we can access not only the heritage but also the great information out there. How is it? Give us the kind of the life story. We're ready.
Sure.
You've got one issue under your belt, and as we speak, you're working at what point in the second edition?
Yeah, sure. So we put out back in December 24, we put out what we call a preview issue. And this was just to show readers, subscribers, and show everybody out there what the new version of the American Field publication is going to look like. And as we mentioned offline here, we are currently getting ready to put to press sort of issue number 1, our official relaunch, full-size 100-page issue. From there, it'll be quarterly. But to back up a little bit and sort of set the stage, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with the American Field brand that dates back to 1874, when America held its first pointing dog field trial outside of Memphis, Tennessee, where the National Bird Dog Museum is, if anybody needs a side trip. But from there, it really evolved into, you've got to report on these events and talk about the brace runnings. And then, of course, you have to have a catalog for these dogs. So that spurred the Field Dog Stud Book. And then what evolved into a weekly tabloid-sized newspaper that became the American Field publication, and went on for many, many years. And it's funny to point out that in some of its earliest iterations, it was a sportsman's publication where we had fishing stories and like trap shooting leagues and just different hunting adventures, natural history, lots of different content relevant to the sporting lifestyle. In more like recent decades, it really became synonymous with those pointing dog field trials. Those reports, stats and upcoming events really became sort of the hub for that community. So there's a little bit of question and, what is UKC doing now with the brand and so on. A lot of information to discuss here. So for those folks that are familiar with the pointing dog trial system, we've integrated that into our hunting operations. It sits alongside our coonhound events and beagles and hunting retriever club, et cetera. So we also took the Field Dog Stud Book and sort of merged that, what we now say like a dual privilege registry, with UKC. So those folks can compete in events and on either side, and we'll still print those papers either way. So all in all, what was left over was this legacy title that we've relaunched as, again, this quarterly editorially focused publication. I dare say magazine, because I've got journal in my title. So with that, it's very much more like narrative story. We've got art, we've got humor from folks like yourself, really showcasing this as a literary assemblage of works, not only for bird dogs, but now we're including the hounds, the beagles, the retrievers, other obscure types of hunting and working dogs, and really focused on just that bond that we have with our dogs. Yeah.
Well, it's a big tent, and you guys are still putting the poles up, I guess. And I love the idea of a hound guy reading my story, and then a pointer guy reading something about coon dogs, and That idea, I think, is going to work way better than anybody conceived it to work, because I think most of us, if we had to confess, we just love to watch the dogs, and I don't care what they're doing. I just want to watch them.
That's right. Yeah. And, again, it's going to be a little different. There's a lot of really great publications. We mentioned a few that are focused on specific types of dogs or specific type of hunting. So we want to try to find our position in the marketplace and have that relevancy for that reader. So again, it's not going to be in-depth training or, any one particular, but that universal thread that we share with our love for our dogs and being out in the field, I think that'll really shine through. And, quite honestly, let's help each other out here. Some of our friends that run hounds are under the microscope in the political climate nowadays. And, we might just otherwise learn of a new way to spend time with our dogs, or just hopefully be entertained along the way nonetheless.
Well, more power to you. And it's easy for me to say that. I've been in your shoes, walked a few thousand miles. What are some of the bigger challenges you found in basically starting from scratch and creating a brand new publication?
Yeah, one of the hardest things is we're sitting right now wanting to print 4 times a year at 100 pages. And so I have to unfortunately say no to contributors and no to pitches just because I've only got so much room. And when we're trying to cover all of these different, user groups, every single issue, I have to dedicate pages and set these aside. I'll say too, Scott, that it's not just the hunting dog. We're continuing to usher in that sporting lifestyle line. So I've got departments on guns and shooting, conservation, wild game cooking, hunting dog health. We're rolling out a humor column, a few different things. So that's been really challenging to try to carefully pick what's got to make it. Something's got to get cut somewhere too.
Yeah, people who aren't deep into this may not realize you can't just add pages willy-nilly. There's a method to the madness. There is a lot of madness, of course, but
sure.
But there are a finite number of pages, amount of paper, and all those things. And by the way, ink is really expensive.
It is. It's wild to think about. Launching a publication. And I'll say too that we're producing what I believe to be a highly premium, high quality premium product. We have made some decisions with bigger, thicker, heavier paper. Some of the internal things that, you're not going to want to throw this away. You're going to see a lot of value in it. We hope it's a legacy product that's shelvable, kind of have a life of its own, take to camp and pass around. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, this is your chance. If you didn't get in on the inaugural issues of Great Sporting Journal, and some people are obsessed about collecting every issue, for example, now's your chance. So sign up. If we want to, just before I forget, if we want to learn more and maybe subscribe now, where's the best place for us to go online to do that?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So the best place to start, I would say, is our website, and that is journal.americanfield.com. So that's subdomain there. And when you get to there, you'll learn more about our history, our brand, our publication, everything that we're doing, what's inside those issues. And then there's a place to subscribe as well. So 4 issues a year, 100 pages each, and we know you'll like what we're doing.
Tell me about an online presence for the journal. Will you have one?
Yeah, for sure. So we're a little bit of a skeleton crew. And as you know, when you wear one hat, you wear many hats. So, I'm helping to sort of get into the social media, started YouTube channel. We've got the website, and we will eventually put content on there as well. But, looking at potentially a podcast, we've got an email newsletter, just all of those different ways and those different channels to communicate with our audience. We're going to start to dig into those as well. Yeah.
And tease some more besides the first article everyone should read, which is by me.
Yep.
What else? Tell us what else we've got coming up in the first official issue.
Yeah, for sure. So that spring issue, will have a lot of different materials. I've got a piece on using silencers or suppressors. That's becoming more popular and easier than ever to get into. I've got a really high level piece on sort of wild game food preparation techniques, just helping to get readers feel more comfortable with wild food and get more out of that. I've got a story that I bylined about sort of getting into leashed tracking dogs, using these dogs for big game recovery. I've got a piece on littermate syndrome, which is something that folks may or may not have heard of, but really a cool kind of thought-provoking piece on, those pack animals raising litters together.
Oh.
Trying to think of what else. We've got sort of a field trial primer / American field history. We've got a piece on how houndsmen are supporting conservation. Trying to think of what else, but I won't give it all up. But it's a lot to remember, a lot to think about, and a lot to read through.
The more you mention houndsmen or leash tracking or all of that, it reminds me of the days when I first moved up here to Oregon, got involved in some political stuff that brought us all together in the same room. Not only did we have bird hunters of all stripes, but we had the houndsmen. We had everybody with dogs, plus everybody else, the fly fishers, the salmon fishers, the trappers. And yeah, at times you think it's oil and water times 10, but at other times you realize we do have a lot more in common than we think. Have you seen that happen editorially? I mean, do you see crossover just so far, even in the reaction to the I guess I'll call it the preview edition?
Yeah, for sure, Scott. A couple of things is, we're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of interest. When I first started this, it felt like a social experiment of how am I going to put these different user groups together. But I couldn't be more excited at this time that we're at now. Out west, we know a lot of our brothers and sisters in the hound sports are facing a lot of scrutiny. There's other sort of obscure forms of hunting, hog dog and deer dog, and we're going to be talking about those, and we're going to help to inform and help to unite. So, this sort of became an ancillary benefit, I guess, to be putting these groups together and just help each other to see what's on the other side of the fence. I will say too, having worked now for several months at UKC, a lot of our members and some of our readers now are expressing, they have versatile dogs, or they're wanting to do more with their dogs in the off season, or just exploring different ways to stay afield with their dogs. So yeah, we're going to cover all that.
And that's another thing I'm glad you brought up. I gave a speech last year at the Club Épagneul Breton, and knew, because I have friends in that world, that they conduct their trial system through you. And
yes, that's right.
And there are other opportunities for people, whether they're retriever, flushing dog, or pointer breed owners, to be involved with UKC. Can you outline a little bit about all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, American Field's been around since 1874, but not too much longer after. The United Kennel Club was formed in 1898, and I believe they've been based in the Kalamazoo, Michigan area since. Can't recall exactly, but they've been there forever. So we obviously are a registry similar to what folks know, the AKC, American Kennel Club. So we're in that business of the purebred dog papering, but we do a lot here at UKC with competitions, and we're really focused on the community. We hand out ribbons. Of course, we do a little bit of those, large checks for those events as well. But everything from the coonhound, beagles, the HRC, or Hunting Retriever Club, is affiliated with us. We've got sports for squirrel dogs. And then on the non-sporting or non-hunting side, we have our all-breed sport section. So think dock jumping, nose work, weight pull, agility, and then your traditional dog shows. And the funny thing is you'll see the different dogs on either side, right? It's not a coonhound, can go jump off a dock, or I've seen, terriers do all these different sports too. So we're really about that total dog philosophy. It performs and conforms, and just do more with them. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about my experience again out there in Oklahoma on that French Brittany trial. How they had a bench show.
Oh wow!
And,
very cool.
So those are all dual dogs, and you can do that in many ways, and it just sounds like a really noisy, boisterous time.
a good time. Yep.
Well, when do you think the first issue, official issue, will be available to you and me and everybody else?
Sure thing. So we're going to be putting that to press here soon, and we're expecting it to begin mailing by late March.
Okay.
And, so everybody on the list will get that. And then if you missed it, we'll be selling those single copies on the website as well. And then for anybody that maybe wants to see a preview issue first, or just add issue 0 to their collection, we've got that available on the website as well. And if you go to that journal.americanfield.com website and you go through the store, the commerce section, that'll push you over to the UKC store, where you can see the American Field as well as our other publications for our sporting and those members as well. So that's how that looks. Yeah.
Well, this time of year, I'm asking everybody at least one question about how their bird season went. So tell me a story about Chris Ingram's bird season.
Yeah. So it's funny because I'm in Vermont in the Northeast, and some folks may or may not have heard, we actually do get wildfires on this side, although it's north of the border in Quebec. So last few years, I just feel like the woodcock have, gone up and kind of came back down. And I just had an incredible opening day this year. Resident woodcock, it felt like a flight day, just popping like popcorn. And even though the leaves were thick, I wasn't able to see and hit as many. So I was able to get a good long day out of it. So that still kind of shines in my memory as that opening day. Yeah.
Wow, it's funny because maybe the second best day of my season was opening day as well.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of dog you running these days?
Oh, well, you got me here, Scott. But I figured out that I don't have my own dogs currently, but I found out that having friends and going out, and it's like being a grandparent. I don't have to feed them, train them, travel with them, and I can just enjoy them that way. So,
well, we love that. Yeah, most of us would be glad to host somebody, especially somebody like you, and show off our dogs a little bit.
It's been really fun to see the different styles, and I just can't decide. Being an upland hunter, pointer or flusher, I really do enjoy springers and the labs and those retrieving breeds in the tight timber here, chasing grouse and woodcock. I really do enjoy that. So,
well, that's spectacular, and I wish you the best. Having been a publisher for 5 years, I know what you're going through. It's exciting, but it's nail biting. Keep up the good work, and glad we could finally get the word out about this thing. It'll be just a few weeks from now when people can pick up their own copy, or, of course, as you heard, you can subscribe right now, journal.americanfield.com. Get in now while the getting is good. Chris Ingram, always great to talk with you. Thanks for being a part of the Upland Nation podcast.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much, Scott.
And the rest of you, don't go away. We still got a little bit more to talk about here, although it's hard to top that, isn't it? Yeah, I'll tell you. In this day and age, to see somebody basically sticking their neck on the chopping block and coming up with another magazine concept that I think has got some potential. Not just because they send me money, but because it's a great idea. So check it all out. The Fix It segment is coming up in just a moment. We're going to get your vest a little bit more organized, I hope. Well, maybe mine needs more than yours. After a word from MidwayUSA.com, if you're looking for obscure ammo, they're the ones to do it. If you need some clothing, footwear, this time of year, maybe you're looking at camping season, They've got a vast array. Of course, all the bird dog and bird hunting gear that you need, it's all at MidwayUSA.com. Sign up for their email or text notifications and get 10% off your next order. Customer satisfaction is their number one goal. That's why they put all my exclusive dog training videos up on my page on their website, MidwayUSA.com. And HiViz sites, there is nothing like this fiber optic light pipe system that they've developed to help you quickly and easily acquire both the target and the muzzle of your shotgun. Run them together, boom, and it's time to call out fetch. Yeah, you can swap out the colors of those light pipes. You can go from gun to gun, in most cases with simply snapping off the light pipes and putting them on to the other shotgun with it's all magnetic in most cases. Simple and easy, even for a guy like me who's not allowed to use power tools. Learn more at HiVizSites.com. Watch the video over there and see what I mean. HiViz sites.com. Well, this week on Fix It, I'm going to talk to you about the things that are on my to-do list because hopefully they will help you this coming season. So think back on your last hunt or your whole season if it was that bad. Was your e-collar control easily accessible? How about those shells during a popcorn flush? Could you reach them without having to dig or without having to look? Or how hard was it to get water to your dog when he finally does come back to you panting and slobbering? Maybe it's time to move some things around. Or add a couple D-rings so you can snap on a lanyard or tie your whistle to them. Add a pocket. Move some of the straps just so that it's more comfortable and it makes you more easily able to mount your gun. Now's the time for all of that. During the off season when you can experiment and you're not doing everything in a panicked way. The last thing you want to do is hear your buddy saying, now where was that? When the birds are getting up into the air. If you don't want to be like him, work on your vest right now. That's the Fix It segment. Good luck to you. And now it's time for our furfeathersfriends.com word of the week. Yes, entries are open for both the monthly prize and, of course, the grand prize, which is a 4-pack of pointer shotguns. Your choice, over and under or side by side. Just go to furfeathersfriends.com and scroll down to the entry form. This week, the word of the week is D-O-G. I know. Simple, isn't it? Dog is the word of the week. Fill it in. You're entered for those Chad Hodge choke tubes from TrulockChokes, and you're also entered for the 4-pack of pointer shotguns at furfeathersfriends.com. Tell me who you're taking on your next hunt. It's always fun to find out who's going where when. And now, thank you. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Scott for those insights. Love to hear all of your thoughts on those guys and everybody else we have on our Industry Insider segments. So please correspond with me through social media or email. And then do me one big favor and leave a rating or a review at Apple Podcasts. Thank you to our sponsors, Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, Trulock Choke Tubes, MidwayUSA.com, Pointer Shotguns, and HiViz Shooting Systems. Hey, appreciate your attention. Hope to see you down the road. In the meanwhile, maybe it's time for a lesson or at least a practice session at the range. Maybe I'll see you there. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for listening to the Upland Nation podcast.